Hi 440 class, this is Dr. Bowen again. Just wanted to give you a brief review of the movie Man of Steel and talk a little bit about why it was important ethically. First, let's take a quick look at the film to remind you what it was discussed.
What if a child dreamed of becoming something other than what society had intended? What if a child aspired to something greater?
My son was in the bus. He saw what Clark did.
You're the answer, son. You're the answer to are we alone in the universe?
Can I just keep pretending I'm your son?
You are my son. And I have to believe that you were sent here for a reason. And even if it takes the rest of your life, you owe it to yourself to find out what that reason is.
How do you find someone who has spent a lifetime covering his tracks? For some, he was a guardian angel. For others, a ghost who never quite fit in.
You will give the people of Earth an ideal to strive towards. They will race behind you. They will stumble. They will fall. But in time, they will join you in the sun. In time, you will help them accomplish wonders.
You believe your son is safe? I will find him!
Well, that gives us a little bit of a reminder about what was discussed in this film. It could have been written by an ethicist or someone who studies internal communication and teaches organizational values training. It's that good. But let me explain briefly what I wanted you to think about. If you pull up the worksheet from Blackboard, it'll help you as you work through that. The aliens, led by General Zod with his Lieutenant Fayor-Ul, were utilitarians. Their underlying principle that they always strived for was the greatest good for the greatest number of their society. So that's a utilitarian argument in the sense that they are doing what they think is best for the majority. And it's a misapplication of utilitarianism because they're only considering their civilization as the good that should be maximized or should be maintained. So the Kryptonians are worthwhile. The Earthlings to them are like ants, not worthy of consideration in the utilitarian calculus. So General Zod actually says to Clark Kent, or Superman, toward the end of the film, that he's working for the greater good of his people, and everything he's ever done, no matter how heartless or how cruel, has been for that greater good. But the good he's talking about is his society alone, that of Krypton, and that society being reborn on planet Earth, taking over Earth because they're more a technologically advanced species than humans are, and they think that gives them the right to do so. So they are utilitarians, and that argument ethically to philosophers would not hold water because it doesn't consider all of the other things that should be considered, like the rights to humans on the planet. However, Superman, or Clark Kent, does take that into consideration. He's approaching this confrontation with a deontological point of view, meaning he's basing it on duty and obligation. He's thinking about it rationally in terms of rights, in terms of dignity, in terms of free will. And he's looking at the situation as a Kryptonian, but also as someone familiar with Earth. He's not taking sides, he's weighing it objectively, and he sees what General Zod and Fayor are doing as something evil. He sees it as genocide, he sees it as morally wrong and reprehensible. Therefore, his obligation or duty is to do everything he can to help prevent the eradication of Earth and the inhabitants of Earth. Superman shows good intention which is also part of this philosophy. So we know that he's acting from a basis of rationality and free moral will, thinking autonomously. No one makes him get involved, although General Zod does demand that Superman turn himself over, but it's pretty clear that they're not going to meet any demands, even if he does. He could have hidden. I'm not sure they ever would have found him if he'd acted like a normal person and just hidden. So Superman is approaching this using Kant's deontology, and he's looking at it in terms of the first formula of the categorical imperative, a universal moral duty. So universal would mean on Earth and on Krypton. So is it right to steal a planet and eradicate a species just because you have the power to do so? No, that's obviously not an ethical decision. So Superman sees it as his moral obligation to try and stop General Zod. The second formula of the categorical imperative, maintaining dignity and respect for those involved, is also considered by Superman because he realizes the humans are not as advanced as those on Krypton, not in technology and probably in many other ways, genetically speaking. However, he believes they still have a right to exist because they're autonomous and rational moral beings. And finally, using Kant's third formula of the categorical imperative, Superman acts with good intention. He doesn't want to see everyone on planet Earth die just so a failed race from Krypton can be regenerated through the use of their genetic codes. So he acts with good intention in trying to save humans, not because they're a weaker species, not because, as General Zod says, he sees them as pets, but because he believes that they have a right to survival. They're rational thinking beings that gives them equal weight under the categorical imperative. Finally, there is a point where Clark's father in the film early on had argued a utilitarian framework. When Clark Kent saved the school bus full of children, his father said he probably shouldn't have, because the greater good would have been to let those kids die to maintain the secret that Clark is different and has these powers. However, Superman disagreed with that, again using deontology. Clark felt that his moral obligation was to save the children on the bus. Immanuel Kant discussed this as ought implies can. If you can do something, then you should. And Clark knew that he could save the school bus full of children, so he felt it was his moral duty to do so, at no regard for the consequences and risk to himself in terms of being discovered for his superpowers. So that is how ethics applies to the film Man of Steel. I hope you enjoyed watching this one, and I think it was a really exciting film to watch. The moral discussion between Faora and Superman when she chases him down and has the big fight in his hometown is also something I want you to think about. Her argument is wrong in terms of having no sense of ethics being a higher state of evolution, because how could society exist without ethics? Consider that question, and I will see you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.